Oh, right. I got to do that thing that I do, right? Okay.
Yes, you do, Josh.
It's time for
Rod, you do it.
Josh.
My throat hurts today.
Ken,
It's all on
okay.
you.
Welcome all to this shit show. Hello, everyone. We are Murder Moose, part of the Slash and Cast podcast network.
It's in the game. Oh.
Josh has had too many Santa. He had Santa's wiener in his throat over Christmas, and now he's got a sore throat. So it's
Sickness. Okay. I was like, honestly, right before this, I went and got some pizza, and I was like ordering the pizza, and I was like, uh-oh. I can hardly even talk to order the pizza. I better go get some like throat shit so I can do the podcast.
Yeah. Ken and I can make up for you. Okay, Josh. Just sit there and go like, thumbs up and like, or you go, or you go, It's basically you're doing the gladiator, like, emperor, like, rating system. Josh is like, thumbs up, thumbs down. So
sounds
who
good.
Was it? Ken, was that you who was like trying to figure out what was it, thumbs up or thumbs down? Like, I forget, somebody was doing that. I was in a stream I was in, and it might have been Katie. I don't know. And I think they got it backwards. Like they were like thumbs down.
It may have been because I can't keep my left from my right separate. So I'm always like, they're like, oh, just hold up and make an L. And I'm like, but then which way does the L go? And then I feel really stupid. So I'm going to get L and R tattooed on my wrist at some point.
Well, Ken,
maybe for my birthday.
You've gone over this in this podcast, though. You're not stupid. It's just a weird, like, it's just like, it's probably like an ADHD, like some kind of like
it is
spatial realization thing. Like
I mix up orange and green all the time. I have my entire life. I know what they are, but if I look at something, it's not uncommon for my brain to be like, oh, that's green, but it's really orange.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like a colorblind thing. It's just my brain doesn't understand the words every time. Yeah. It's weird. It's really weird.
I don't know anybody's name. That's me. I'll forget everyone's name instantly.
Yep. I'm real bad with names. Like, I'm real bad. And like, and I go talk about this all the time on here, but like the whole, like, not having like facial, like, or saving images or seeing images in my brain. So it like ends up being like, I do this really weird things. Maybe not weird, but like I'm always comparing faces. So like if you have any kind of like facial thing that reminds me of someone else, like usually like celebrities and actors and shit. And so I'm like, oh, this person reminds me of this person. And my wife is often like, oh, I can kind of see that. And I'm like, well, it's just how I think, because then like it's how it correlates in my brain. So I kind of like register them because I'm not seeing them in my head until I see them. You know what I mean? So it's like.
But yet I can like remember so many stupid things about like movies and who was in what. And it's I don't know.
It's how our brains sort information, man. And it's like, in the 2022, soon to be 2023, like there's a lot in our heads, and we all have like weird, like how we handle the worlds, man. And it's just like, none of us are like, I don't think any of us here are like neurotypical either. Like we all, not that fucking neurotypical is a weird fucking word anyways these days, because everyone's got some kind of weird oddity with how they view the world or, see everything. So it's just like,
yep.
Brains are fucked is basically what it comes down to. So it's, so we're all weird. We're all see the world different. No one sees the things. And science is like, I don't understand how the brain works. Because if science understood how the brain works, like, Ken wouldn't have to like try medications like she was like sampling cakes for a wedding. There's like, it's like, does this do this? Does this do that? Well, it's supposed to do this, but sometimes it does this. And then Ken grew a tail because of the...
I was having a conversation with somebody this weekend about that too. So it's very interesting you bring that up. But science is doing some crazy stuff though, because like, GeneSight exists now, which I should ask them to sponsor me because I promote the hell out of them. But GeneSight exists, and they, swab your DNA and figure out like what meds might work best with your brain, which is great, but it still doesn't explain necessarily how your brain works. But yeah,
it's odd, man. And it's one of those things that it's like, that's like if you want to look, that's how I always think about it. You want to figure out how little we truly understand the human brain. That's it. Like that is it. Like how chemicals work, how people like, handle drugs is just like such a just a easy go-to example, because like anything in the world that you go, one person does this and one thing happens, another person does the exact same thing and something else happens, is just like, it just goes, okay, so we don't fully truly understand what this is going on. And it's like, I mean, we're on Adderall, like, or some of us are on Adderall, so it's like
Vyvanse.
So or Adderall,
Ativan, Ritalin, Lexapro, Lamictal.
They're all just amphetamines, right? So
yeah, they're all just speed. They're all just things that make your body go, okay, now we could like pay attention to one thing. But you know what?
Uppers, downers, stabilizers. We're all over the place. Speaking of which, welcome on in. We're talking about our top 5 movies, top 5 horror movies of this year. So welcome. I hope you guys are having a fabulous day.
Yeah. Did you guys have wonderful Christmases? I hope you did. It was we're recording this the day after Christmas, so
Boxing Day, if you're in Canada.
Boxing Day. Yeah.
Oh, can you explain to me about Boxing Day a little bit?
Isn't it Black Friday?
Yeah, it's Black Friday for Canada. But now we have Black Friday as well, so it doesn't make sense that we still have Boxing Day. It was it would be like the equivalency. But now, like, a lot of the places just do, like, Boxing Week sales. And
it's like...
I didn't even go out today.
So a lot of that shit has like, adjusted over the years, right? Like, I think, I think a good example is the Steam sales, right? Like, Steam used to do that thing where it was, like, every day you had to be, like, logging on and, like, checking out what games were on sale that day, and they kind of went, maybe we just put everything on sale for the whole time. We're gonna make more money, and I assume they do because it's like they've continued doing it like that, and stuff like Black Friday just kind of rolls into Cyber Monday now, and it's just like, it's all like what advertises basically is the only thing that's really different, because none of this stuff is
and like the hysterics of people, like it was getting really ridiculous, right? So I feel like, just to stop that, they got rid of more of the urgency and the door crasher deals and stuff, right? Because they were killing people.
I mean,
like, we talked about this a lot too, where I used to work in retail, and I worked at an outlet store, but we would put stuff on sale that was the Black Friday sale, like, weeks before. And then, Black Friday rolls around and we're advertising all these sales, and people would come busted in at midnight. And they're like, oh my God, such great deals. And I'm like,
yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah.
And it's still going to be cheaper in like a week. Chill.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to do this movie thing, but I want to talk about how you live in the town that the mayor from Jaws lives in, because Ken tweeted out one of the most insane things ever, and it made me laugh, and I had to point out that whoever tweeted this out or said this is basically the mayor from Jaws. So, Ken, you want to talk about...
Glorious. So, like the other 48 continental U.S. states, God dang it, my brain has shut down already, and we just got started. We got hit with that horrible winter storm. We lost a bunch of power. We were down into like negative digits without wind chill. And then with wind chill, we were down into like negative 20s, whatever. So I live in a tourist town that is heavily busy this time of year because it's right at the Smoky Mountain National Park. We get 11 million visitors annually. Tourism is a huge component. And because Christmas, it's packed the gills. So our power was going out because of the ice, and the county issued a statement that residents needed to not do laundry, not shower or bathe, and to turn their heat as far down as they could, so that the tourists could have a great Christmas. And then they proceeded to do rolling brownouts in residential areas.
What the hell?
So
priorities, eh? Hey, you live here all the time. Fuck you.
Yeah, you live here all the time. You're the ones who like put up with this shit. You're the ones who, work and keep everything
pay
going.
For this
but
shit.
But yeah, fuck you. Let's keep the tourists happy. I mean, like, I get it. I totally get it. And I understand it. But like, we matter too. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, so she was like, crank the heat up, throw a door open. I don't care. Let's run a bath for a few hours. We don't even have a bathtub. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
we didn't do
just
that,
run
but
everything.
still.
Yeah, as soon as I saw her tweet about that, I'm like, that's the mayor from Jaws. Like, fuck, like everything else. We just need the tourist money. We don't care if people die. Just need tourist money. So yeah, that made me giggle, and
that's
it was
hilarious
just like,
and ridiculous.
Yeah, fucking capitalism 101. Money's more important than everything else. And that includes the people paying you the money that you want to do all this insane shit. So it just made me giggle. And I'm like,
I mean, it just makes me laugh too, because like, if you think about it, if you go somewhere like, and you don't check the weather, okay, I guess I could see that. But like, if you're going somewhere that's like the mountains, and you're all, I want to see snow, but then you're not prepared for cold weather or snow.
Then
it's kind of on you, my friend.
Then you freeze your balls off, and you learn your lesson, or you die.
Oh my God!
Those are the options. But you know what? That's what you get for being a silly bitch. And I just it's the mayor from Jaws who's like, nah, we can't stop people from swimming because it's the 4th of July weekend, and like, the town won't make any money. So what if a bunch of people get eaten by sharks at the same time? We need that and that's what it's the exact same thought process. Like, it doesn't matter if people get fucked up or die, but money.
Yeah.
Money. So, okay. We are diving in, though. We are talking about our personal favorite films, horror films of 2022. And this was fucking hard. This was really hard. I nailed it down to like 5 movies and then 6 movies. And then I
did 10.
I did 5 honorable mentions, so it's basically the same thing.
I have 2 mentions, 1 worst, and a top 10.
It's fine. We'll do it out. It was hard, dude. Like, I was pulling shit off of there like that I didn't want to pull off of there, and there was bunches of shit that I had a blast with that I didn't put on here. Stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I really enjoyed. Stuff like that. That
made so many people's worst list.
We talked about that with Jerry, man. That movie was fun. That was all that mattered to me. And it had a Chainsaw Massacre in it. That's all we needed. A Chainsaw Massacre. The first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that actually had a Chainsaw Massacre in it. And people are like complaining about it. It's just like,
it didn't even get a mention for me.
Yeah, I didn't. But I'm just saying that's like.
And I did a top 10.
Yeah, I took Prey off of mine. Like, I wanted to put Prey on mine. Stuff like that.
Prey made number 10 for me.
Yeah. But so it's going to be hard, but like, we all did this. And so I think we're going to go and let's just go around real quick then and do like honorable mentions, AKA like 5 through 10 or whatever you guys want. How many honorable mentions do you have, Ken? Or 6 through 10, you know what I meant.
Yeah.
And just go and let's do that. And we'll just go off and then we'll drop into our top 5. Ken, do you want to start?
Sure, absolutely. I have 2 honorable mentions for this year. The first one is going to be Mr. Harrigan's Phone, which is based on a Stephen King short story. I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I did wish it had a little bit something else to it, but it was fabulous. I recommend it. And the other one... Nope, I'm going to combine the other 2 together. So I'm going to say my honorable mention this year was Mr. Harrigan's Phone.
Okay, cool. Yeah, see, that's another one. Like, there are movies that you guys... Yeah, like, it was on Netflix, right? It was a Netflix...
Yeah, I think so.
But like,
I'm kind of a King junkie, which is why...
It's hard doing lists at this time of year because we still haven't seen everything we want to see for a list like this to be like legit, but it's still fun to end the year with what we've actually seen, right? Yeah.
Especially in a year like this when there were so many fucking horror movies.
Yes.
Cool. Well, did you have a thing you enjoyed? I mean, Josh has the least favorite. Was there anything that like rubbed you the wrong way at all? You don't have to say if there wasn't, Ken. But is there anything you like that like you annoyed you more than you thought it should have, or you didn't like that other people liked? I mean, you don't have to say anything. I mean, I really don't have anything.
Let's leave
on
worst
mine.
for the last one.
Okay, we'll do that last. Okay,
Very
we'll do that
last. Like even
Okay.
like it'll go first and then worst.
Okay,
'Cause we'll dunk.
Josh, do your 5 honorable mentions or whatever you want to do. How you're doing that?
I don't even know how I'm doing this because I've always done a top 10, but
Yeah.
it's never for horror movies. I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
seen this many horror movies in one year. Well, I guess last year with the show as well, but like we've never seen so many good movies in the horror genre come out in 1 year. So
Yeah.
the mentions that didn't make it to my top 10 were The Sadness and Scream, because technically Sadness did come out this year.
Yeah.
And it's just because I never want to watch it again. And The Sadness was way too fucking good regardless. But
Yeah, that's another one I forgot to even put on the list. Like,
I don't think I've watched it yet.
it's
it's
hard
to watch. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hardcore. But
Yep.
that was the first movie that used my poster for anything legitimate for the movie itself. So I also just wanted to put it on my mentions because they used it for when it was in Canada in Cineplex. So that was fucking dope.
That's pretty dope.
10, like I said, was Prey. And then number 9, I just found out on Friday that the Black Phone is using my poster that I did on their IMDb page. But then in going down that rabbit hole, so many other people are like selling my artwork online, apparently. Like all my posters are on T-shirts and posts like all over the place. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But like, there's a bunch of them and I'm not doing this. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I want to make this money on my shit. But I don't do
exposure is not going to pay the bills, especially if they're not saying who's doing it.
Yeah. So
exactly. Well, it's bots, right? Like that's a lot of it, not all of it, but I mean, it's just people. Like you see artists on Twitter and like all the things that are like, hey, look at this. I have my name on this, and people are still selling it. So
my name was still on it.
Yep.
That's wild.
Oh well. Okay, I'm just gonna like run through 9.
Okay.
8 was Pearl, 7 was Nope, and 6 was Watcher, who is also using my poster on their IMDb, and a whole bunch of people are now selling that one as well.
Man, that's so fun. Okay, I'm gonna go over the ones that like really kind of surprised me with like honorable mentions that didn't make my list. I just recently watched Deadstream, and I fucking love this movie, and I think we should need to talk about it at some point on this podcast. It's right up our alley. It's horror comedy, but it's like a Twitch streamer, basically, live streamer who goes into this house, and insane shit happens. It's kind of like it has
totally
the Evil Dead 2 kind of humor to it, like zany while being like creepy at the same time. But like the actor that kills it, I really, really enjoyed it, especially from someone who makes live content, as we all do. And then Christmas Bloody Christmas surprised the shit out of me, and we just talked about that last week. And
I spelt his fucking name wrong, of course.
So Josh tweeted out his poster, and then the director saw it, and he saw that he was busting Josh's balls, that he spelled his name's Joe, and Joe, he put J-E-O instead of J-O-E.
He's like, this is cool and all, but who the fuck is Geo?
And it made me laugh. And that made me laugh. That's why I went in our little group chat. I was like, oh no, Josh.
So good.
So yes.
That's so fucking me to do that. I've done that so many times this year. Fuck, whatever.
I mean, it's that thing where like you got this like, I think what happens is you're like going into autopilot with that stuff because you got this vision in your head and you're trying to maintain the vision, right? And like do what you're doing, and you're like you're ADHDing out on that stuff, right? You're like
it's
oh,
a
that's
picture
the easy
to me.
stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. And you're just like, it's like when you did opera, or you put the in front of it, just because that's the type of thing you would expect, is the in front of it. And it was funny, but that poster's dope, man. So it makes sense. Okay, my other 3 that I put on for
I love getting that type of interaction though. It's so funny when people from the movie interact anyways, but when they're busting your balls too, fuck, it's so good.
Dude, you had Santa, the main actress, both like it, and then the director who busted your balls about misspelling.
Yeah, that was a good
that one-
good amount of interaction for one of my posters.
Yeah, so the last three I have for honorable mentions: Hellraiser, Scream, and Watcher. So I loved all three of those. They were really good films, and I had a blast with them. It was just fucking putting this list together was fucking hard, man. It was like
Watcher was fucking great.
Yeah,
you would
it
like
was.
that one, Kin.
It's not the Watcher the show, right?
No, it's just
No.
Watcher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about a chick who moves to like Romania with her husband because of a new job, and like
She doesn't speak the language.
yeah, and so isolation and whatever. But yeah, and a stalker, but nobody believes her, and yeah, it's really good though. So those are my
Just
those are
tension.
mine. Yeah, it's one of those films that you just like. It's still like I think the most tense movie we've done on this
Yes.
podcast. Josh was A Good Woman Is Hard to Find, which is like
Yes.
the only movie that I've ever seen that's like, okay, we're gonna put our foot on your throat.
It was just
second it
anxiety
start-
the
yeah.
entire movie.
Yeah, and then 90 minutes of just anxiety, and it pulls off something that a lot of films I think couldn't, where it was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and it like doesn't wear you out, like you're like on the ride, and it's so.
And
that
it's
was my
got the
top-
lead actress from It Follows, and she's just rad in everything. So
Yep. Yeah, Watcher does. Yep. Which I didn't realize until Josh pointed out. It's the you're not like thinking of things like that. So
I always do.
okay. Yeah, I know you do. Okay, let's move on and let's move to number 5. Josh, number 5.
This is the one that I think won't be on anyone else's list, and it's nowhere to be found on any list that I was looking online. And it's Smile. I fucking loved that movie.
Smiles on my list too. So-
Okay,
Smiles
good.
on my list.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, I had it was a weird time at the movie theater because, you're in a time where you have to pick your seats. I picked a seat. There's just like, it was filled with teenagers that just don't appreciate movie watching. They're there to just be assholes to everyone in the theater and,
Yep.
one up each other. So I moved because they were so loud and moved into a seat that had like no armrest. And I was like, I don't even care. But it was such a fun experience seeing it with an audience and
Yep.
the amount of like crazy, I don't know, just anxiety this movie like induced was,
Yeah.
I loved it.
We'll talk about it. It doesn't like, it takes it mashes up some other films, but does it and executes really well.
Well,
And
I just said
it's-
It Follows,
Yeah,
and It
yeah.
Follows, and
Yep.
yeah,
Meets the ring any of the Japanese. It's got that very Japanese feel in it.
totally.
Okay. Ken, you're number 5.
My number 5 was Smile.
Nice. You guys are on the same page. I put my Smile's farther up mine, to be honest, but like that's okay. But yeah.
I was having a hard time. I didn't. Yeah, you know what? My top 5 is like 2 to 5 were hard. They were going like this, so I was just like,
Yeah.
whatever. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I did. I'm like, I had 15 movies or so on this list. I was like pulling shit off to take stuff off. I'm like, there's stuff, and there was stuff that like I was like, I really enjoyed. Like I said, the Texas Chainsaw was there, and yeah, but like other stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, you just can't put there was just too many options this year.
And I know that Halloween made no one's list, so
and I like that one a lot too. Yeah. Okay, my number 5 is Fresh. Fresh
Really?
was fucking I really liked Fresh. Winter Soldier just being fucking the creepiest motherfucker in the world, and it also did something.
Ooh, does that have him in it?
Yeah, he's the
really,
bad
I
guy
didn't
of the
even get a
film.
mention for me. Like it
I
was just like-
really liked Fresh. It was that kind of film where it's like, it did what like Barbarian did, where it sets up a film, it does something, and then switches up on you, which I really enjoy when they do it well. So like that first like 20 minutes to half an hour of Fresh is like a romantic comedy that turns
Yeah.
into like
Oh,
a
I
fucking-
love that actually. Yeah. I totally forgot about that like big 180 turn the movie did.
Yeah.
And it has like
Yeah.
a whole nother like sequence, like the movie's just starting. It's like you
Yep.
thought the movie started. No, the movie's starting now.
Yeah, it's like
It's awesome.
half an hour in before the title
Yeah.
scrolls, and you're just like, and Sebastian does fucking awesome. And then I forget what her name is. Let me see if I can find her name real quick here, because like I can't think of what her name was either, because she fucking killed it. Like, she's one of those like actors that you're like, I don't know if I know her, but holy shit, she good. It's Daisy Edgar Jones was the other.
That
Yeah.
name sounds familiar.
Let's see what else she's been in. Known. Albion. She's been on a bunch of TV. But yeah.
Actually, I just watched Violent Night instead of Die Hard on Christmas Eve, and
Yeah.
that's a mention for sure. That was fun.
I need to watch it, and I was going to, and then we got distracted. Like we watched like, I had Die Hard on the night of Christmas Eve, and then I watched Home Alone 2 on Christmas, and Gremlins, and all the stuff that like. I'm like,
Violent Night was
yes.
fun, man. It was a fun movie.
Yeah, I hear good things, and it's just again, it's a time thing for a lot of it, because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's the whole like, you can't pick every movie, a TV show you're watching with your significant other, right? So like, you had to pick your battles, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that was number 5 was fresh for me. Now let's do the back thing, and I'll go backwards from there. Number 4, I kind of cheated. I picked X and Pearl. I put them on the same kind
I
of
did
thing.
the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing where like it's hard because like, one, they were shot at the same time, so it's kind of that, it's got that thing that goes with it. But 2, it's just like, it's a Mia Goth acting like you know, just show off, man, and how fucking good she is. Ty West, like, he kind of like went off and like kind of disappeared for a while because of Hollywood being Hollywood. But man, that man has done such excellent horror. You go back to like, you know,
But they were so
The House of
different.
the Devil. Yeah, they are. But
See,
they're
8
like,
got Pearl for me.
yeah. I really just kind of like, it was just the I wanted to talk about both of them, and they both are fucking really fantastic films. So that was kind of like they feel like, especially, you know, when we talked about this like after Halloween Kills came out, or before Halloween Ends came out, right? When you have that trilogy kind of thing going in there, right? You're getting like pieces of the film, and the oddity of how he did it with like putting X out and then like Pearl, which is a prequel, it makes sense once you've seen them. But like,
Star
and
Wars.
now we got Maxine coming out next year, right? And all this stuff, and they're just like these small, intricate little films where he builds up and he just lets Mia Goth chew up scenery. I mean, it's that thing where Pearl has that monologue at the end, which is such an amazing piece of like, you know, her going off for, was it 6 minutes? I think was the dialogue, like the just the monologue, just going
beautiful.
yeah, and just killing it. And like he's saying so much, like he's saying like, Ken, you talked about it, like when we talked about Pearl, like it's that like mental health like thing of when before times, and X does a lot about like when we were transitioning into like making porn in the country, and like how like a lot of people are just like, you know, in America, you know, Bibles and blah blah blah. And there's just so many good things to say, and so many violent kills. And then they kind of like, once after watching X, like you watch Pearl and you're like, oh, like you see like the pitchfork kills and all the stuff in the like transitions, and the alligator and how the alligator stuff started and all that stuff. And you're just like, there's just so many good points in both those films, and they kind of hold together. But like, I basically had enough I wanted to talk about, and I was connecting them. So that was my number 4. I cheated, X and Pearl, but they were the ones that I picked for number 4. So Ken, number 4.
X and Pearl.
Yeah, that's what she said. She did the same.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't know if it was her. It was for. Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
Go. What do you want to add anything else to that?
I mean, mainly just that monologue at the end related it for me. Also, like the end where she's just like staring during the credits. That really like that just was like a big mind mess. But Pearl did such a good job without like trying to repeat everything you just said. But it did such a good job of bringing. And Smile did this as well, right? Where they both were like, here are mental health issues that people talk about and they're like, oh yeah, these are things that happen. But then when they happen, nobody listens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like they both do a good job of that. Whereas, you know, Pearl is showcasing that as like, oh God, this would be terrible if it happened in the past. Smile does a great job of saying, this shit happens, maybe not necessarily exactly like that, but it can feel like that. And with nobody listening to you, I think that in and of itself, like if we define horror, it's not always slash and, you know, and gore and everything, which I mean is very obvious, but I think that those did an incredible job of showcasing that.
I talk about like a lot on here, but like why I like foreign horror is you get that look into what a country, a culture is scared of, right? And like your point, like that stuff is like showing mental health issues are a fucking real deal, and like you can make some really high quality cinema with that. Like I completely agree. I just think Ty West is just one of those guys who I think if he hadn't stopped for nearly a decade, like doing horror movies, he like would be more well known. But that man has made some fucking high quality films like Innkeepers, The House of the Devil, all that stuff that are just like, he just builds tension better than most directors out there. And it's like, Innkeepers made me like clench my asshole for like an hour and a half or whatever it was. Like I loved that film. Yeah, it's such a good film. Yeah, cool. Josh, number 4.
My number 4 is The Innocents.
Nice. That's another
Another
one that another one I didn't put on my list that I probably should have. It's just so many good films. Okay, what do you appreciate about The Innocents, Josh? We really liked it when we talked about it on here.
It was just one of those movies that I judged a book by its cover because it had a really cool poster, and then we got introduced to just a bunch of kid actors that just fucking blew my mind. They're so good, and we still don't know because you know they're all unknown actors because they're kids, but it's also a foreign movie, so like that one is like it reminds me kind of that what was that fucking Brightburn or whatever, the like
Brightburn,
Brightburn, the like the bad Superman movie. This one is like if kids got like superpowers and it goes wrong type thing, and it can get pretty horrific. And I don't know, like this movie is like lighter on the horror, but then there are parts that definitely make it a horror movie for sure.
I mean, the leg scene that you and I like, there was a couple of, and that the sadness hit that too, right? The fucking arm scene, but like where that kid fucking he goes psycho on everyone, and you're just like, oh no.
He is such a good villain too, though, and
Yeah.
one of my favorite villains of the year, to be honest. Like, in like a movie that going up against movies like Black Adam and other like actual superhero movies that are just so bloated with money being thrown at them, and they're just not hitting any mark whatsoever. Whereas this one is such a low budget movie, and they did all the special effects so well. I was blown away by this movie.
It was wonderful, and it's like I don't think enough people have seen it, and like that, like again, it's like you said it. There's so many fucking. I didn't even think about that movie, and I was like,
you know what I did? I went to our website, and I scrolled what we watched, and was like, oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's a good. I went through and we had a Dreadhorde put like the list of films in our Murder Moose on my Discord, and I went through that and just picked shit out, and I'm like, even that was fucking hard enough, man. And I'm just like, god damn, man, god damn. Okay, Josh, what is your number 3 then?
X. Just X. So that's what I was saying, like, because I was adding a little bit to what you guys were saying. I just felt like X set and I think this is why he chose to do it first as well. Like it does set up the characters, and it was just all around better film to me. Not acting wise in comparison, because Pearl and just that monologue scene was like some of the better acting I've seen like in a long, long time. But X, just as a full on like movie, was just so entertaining and so badass, and the death scenes were fucking unreal in it. Whereas Pearl is more character driven piece, and that's why it makes more sense to be the prequel, because it's like, hey, wait a second, you just got introduced to her. Let's now have the story of Pearl, right? So it makes sense, and they're both just so well done. But I feel like X is so good.
It's the thing where you don't know about Pearl, right? And that's part of you don't know about what Pearl is and how fucking psychotic you don't have any clue, and that's part of that shock factor of Pearl, of X. Like, it's like this like 87-year-old lady is like just fucking everyone up, and you just go, what? Like it, and that's why X has that surprise factor added into it, right?
So good.
It is. Okay.
What's yours? What's your number
Kin
3?
is next.
Rod. Wait. Is that what we're doing? Kin.
Yeah, I'm cycling back and forth, but yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. What was
you're
your number 3, Kin? I don't either.
Mine was Nope.
Nope.
So I saw someone, Kin. I want you to talk about it, but I saw someone pointing out that Nope is actually a movie about Hollywood and how it sucks you up and spits you out, and and I'm like, it makes you look at Nope like completely different. But I'm like, and that's another film I didn't even think about. That's how fucking insane this year was. It was like,
Nope was number 7 for me. It was really hard, because that one was like, it started like third and then just got bumped down. I was like, holy shit, what is happening to Nope? I thought it was going to be way up there too. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't put that comparison together about it being like Hollywood, but 100% that would make sense. I don't know if that's what. Oh my gosh, his name just slipped my mind. I feel really dumb tonight. I apologize. What?
Jordan Peele.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what he was like trying to articulate with it, but it definitely gave that feel. There's one scene in it, without spoiling anything, that was so reminiscent of War of the Worlds to me that I like, when it happened, I was like, this is beautiful. It's beautiful. And I love just the cinematography in it is incredible. The use of like,
they did IMAX
colors,
cameras almost like the entire time.
It's stunning. And I do like the fact that it's an attempt to do horror in a different way. And I think that that's what's been really kind of like drawing me this year, is just seeing it through different perspectives. And I think that attempt was great, because it definitely wasn't like the same stuff that we're regurgitating every year. And I really enjoyed it.
And that ape scene, holy shit. I was like,
the chimpanzee just
chimpanzee
fucking everything up. It's that thing where Jordan Peele, like, regardless of how you hit on like certain things about his movies, like the moment of like the ending of Us has always been like, I don't know if he nailed the landing on it. Like, there was a stumble in my mind at least, but like,
it was Twilight Zone, man. It was just like the first episode of the Twilight Zone series he was producing. That's all it felt like to me.
It's Us and Nope and Get Out. All are very different, but he's always like,
Get Out.
Yeah.
Get Out is so good.
It's, as a filmmaker, how he sees cinema and how he sees horror and how he does all this stuff. He just goes, this motherfucker is so goddamn talented. And like, I think that Nope and Us had this happen too, where he loses people because he's too artistic. Like, he loses people for like them not quite understanding it and getting on that page and going. I think expectations have a lot to do with it. Like, I think people expected an alien movie in Nope, but not what he gave them. You know what I mean? That it was.
They expected a hand job, and then he just came and like kind of just cupped the balls.
Yep.
But I kind of liked that. I think that's why I liked it so much because
Same.
it
That's why
wasn't.
I was like, at the end when I saw it, I was just like, I know so many people that are gonna just fucking hate this movie, and that's what makes me love it even more because he went all in with it. He was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm doing this. Haha. Look it. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it.
And I love the cast he pulls for his movies. They are so incredible. I love them.
He does a thing too, which I appreciate, where he has like high quality actors, and he goes, "Okay, you could just chew up scenery, not even having much dialogue." What's his name? The main actor, barely says anything during the whole fucking movie.
Nope.
While his sister, exactly. While his sister is just like chewing up being the sassy sister, and like it just everyone gets to do what
I think
they're meant
Rod's
to do.
hungry. He wants to chew on something.
Okay. My number 3 was Smile. So you guys have both had Smile on there. Josh is like, I didn't think anyone was going to have Smile on there. I think that a lot of the things that have stood out to me with films this year were the quality of jump scares in some of these films.
Oh my God. Smile had the best jump scares I've seen in years.
There was a film that had better ones in my mind that is higher up on my list, but yes, it did. It had some. I
know what you're talking about, but
yeah, the scene with the psychiatrist walking over the couch.
Oh, so good.
It just
I was like,
stands,
no,
yeah,
don't.
That stands out in my mind, and shit like that movie makes dropping like a glass in the kitchen horrifying, like just horrifying, and
it stole stuff from the best movies.
Yeah.
So it just did it really well.
It does that thing where I think Smile feels like the most Japanese American horror movie that I've seen in a while.
100%.
Because it does that thing where it's just like atmosphere and like things that aren't like, they don't ever have to explain. They don't have to like, hand out the details. They don't have to do all this stuff. And they just fucking let you go along for the ride and go, have fun, because that's what it is. It's a fucking. It does.
I think our number 2 and number 1 might be the same.
Maybe, I don't know. I know our number 1s are probably all the same after talking to you both. You guys.
No. Me and you at least.
Oh,
number 2 and number 1, I think are the same.
Yeah.
I know my number 2 is different than yours, but my number 1 is probably the same.
Okay. Yeah, I know you and I have the same, because the how we've been talking about these things the last couple months. Okay, let's go to number 2. My number 2 is The Black Phone.
Oh,
So-
okay. It's completely different. Completely different.
Mine
then.
is too.
Yeah. See, mine is The Black Phone. I think that The Black Phone as a horror film, Scott Derrickson killed it yet again for me. He takes that Joe Hill story, who learned everything from his father, obviously, and just does this fucking killer story where it is got like kind of two things going on at the same time. You got like crime investigation, which is like an episode of CSI or something like that.
But that's what I always say with those, and that's why I couldn't put it higher. Like, it was so well done, but it was like those types of movies are just an episode of CSI for me for some reason. Dude, but it's so well done.
The kid stuff in that film,
I know.
How well, like, the sister is one of my favorite characters in horror. The whole, she's the little sister from fucking Psycho Gorman, and who is one of the best characters in horror ever. But the sister's fucking amazing, and the shit with like him and the fucking and like his friend and like the phone calls with the fucking victims are just heartbreaking but so good. Yes. And you're sitting there going, it all builds up to that fucking scene where he goes ham on Ethan Hawke, the grabber. Yep. And it's just when he's like just kicking the shit out of him there at the end, it's just one of those things that you're like, I think I went audibly was like, yeah, like I was like fucking stoked because it fucking like builds up to that. It's such a rewarding conclusion to that film. And I know, Josh, I know. The ending is a little too happy for you, but it
didn't feel like a horror movie. It felt like a fucking, like, I don't know, like an episode of CSI or something. So I was like, eh.
But there's ghost children. I don't know. I fucking loved it, and was like,
I didn't say I didn't love it. It still made my list, but just not that high up.
Yeah. Okay, Ken. Well, you said you're number 2. You're gonna go back to you anyway. So go talk about the Black Phone.
I really enjoyed the Black Phone. I thought that like you said, the child actors were incredible. The main kid in that movie did such a great job. I loved talking to you guys about Ethan Hawke and his choice to kind of like chill on horror because he didn't want to be like pigeonholed into it was really cool. I thought he did an incredible job. And to be able to put forth as much emotion as well as like acting skill while still wearing so much on his face that covered it. It wasn't like, like face paint or whatever. Like this covered. Like I thought that was great. I loved the balloon scenes so much.
Yeah.
I think overall I really enjoyed, and that was another one that I felt like the concepts were different. Maybe I mean, like, I am a little bit partial to Joe Hill and Stephen King, and I have been for years, so maybe that's part of it, but I thought that they did a great job with it.
Scott Derrickson knows horror, man. Like, he really, really knows horror. Like, the man has done, like, he's one of those directors that, like, I think because he went out and got to do Doctor Strange, like, maybe, but, like, you look at his back catalog and things like, The Exorcism of Emily Rose and, like, Sinister. Like, Sinister is one of those films that gets brought up as, like, one of the scariest movies of the last 20 years all the time because it's so fucking creepy. And we go back to Ethan Hawke, right? And, like, people, they're, like, I feel like people go off.
Up. But it's about kids again, too, right? Like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that lawnmower scene will forever be one of those, like, but, like, yeah, kids are horrifying, man. And, like, you could be, I think you go back to, like, we've had, you talk about X-Files, you talk about, things like Twilight Zone, you talk about, like, things that you go back to Stephen King stuff, like Children of the Corn. Like, you have horrifying children, and it's like, oh, okay, we have this. I mean, we had The Orphan First Kill came out this year, which is another one that's, like, not about children, but it is, kind of thing. And it's just like, it's that like unexpected, like, you don't expect evil out of children, right? Children are supposed to be good and
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're terrifying. I don't know. I have, like, this weird, I always loved kids. I always wanted kids. And now that I'm older, I'm like, man, kids are fucking scary.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going to do. They're unpredictable.
No,
like
in real life, too,
like,
Josh.
in general.
Okay, Josh, what was your number 2?
Terrifier 2.
Nice.
I'm going full horror. Like, it's so, I don't know, like, to see the first one and it just be like a completely indie, almost like, it's the introduction to this new slasher character that is terrifying and has such a good look to him. Terrifier 2 is just so fun, and I keep thinking about it, and I'm obsessed with this year and the introduction of so many good final girls, like new final girls that we've never seen before, and she was my favorite of the year. Second favorite would probably be Christmas Bloody Christmas, like, for new introductions of final girls. Like she was rad, but Terrifier 2 just had one of the best, like, final girls new introduction. Scream 2, like, it has,
dude,
awesome
Prey.
final girls too. Yeah, so I don't
Praise.
know. We're in this new era of horror, and it's gonna be a great future because 2022 fucking happened. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm really curious when they go into Maxine and what Mia Goth gets to do after now she's been the villain, the final girl, and the villain at the same time. And I have a feeling that Maxine's going to fuck some shit up in this film. Like, she's going to be the problem in this film. So, like, maybe not, but like we're jumping like 5 years in the future, they said. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot, man. And it's like you're right. The girl in Terrifier 2 fucking kills it. Like, her design is awesome. But yeah, it's like Christmas Bloody Christmas. That girl is so fucking punk rock and so dope in that film, and just does dialogue like a fucking like the best. Like, she just kills it. There's just
she chews it up.
Yeah, there's just so many high quality final girls and just characters in horror this year. And I obviously I think we've all landed on the same film for number one, unless I'm completely losing my mind.
Number one, Barbarian.
Wolf of Wall Street. I'm just kidding.
Debbie Does Dallas. What? No, yeah. I had Barbarian as number one.
I had Barbarian as one.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it was going to be. It's unanimous with every person. What? And I said this earlier on too. I was like, I don't know. I don't want to say it too early. I compiled the list, and it was number one the entire time. There was no stopping it. That movie, it stood out to me on a level because one, it did the same thing that I talked about earlier, where it was like it sells you one thing. And then you get in and it's complete. Like, you get fucking genres. You get your rug pulled out from you like a third of the way in, and then again. And it's just like, but it's so, dude, I think I fucking like, I went and saw Barbarian by myself and was like, at some point was like because of a That's
jump
what
scare
I was like with Smile.
Yeah.
But also Barbarian.
Yeah. The scares, and I knew you were gonna have Barbarian number one, because after you saw it, you were like Barbarian, and I'm like, yes, Ken, yes.
It's so funny because everybody's like, well, not everybody, but a lot of people were like, it's not even that good. It's good, but like, it's not as good as you're making it. And I'm like, listen, motherfucker, that was like the best movie this year. Okay, yeah, it's probably not as good as it is in my brain, but I loved it. So.
What doesn't matter? What matters in your brain? Your brain. That's all. But, dude, it's funny, man, because I compare this year to last year, and it's that weird thing where people shit all over Malignant last year, even though Malignant was fucking awesome. And then people are like, oh, Barbarian's just Malignant because it's just batshit crazy. And I'm like, what? Why don't you people? Yeah. Why don't you people?
Barbarian's nothing like Malignant.
It's got a I don't give a fuck kind of attitude where it goes batshit crazy. Like, when you have
goes all in.
When you have a 10-foot tall naked breastfeeding lady who makes mama and makes bottles with fucking creepy ass fucking hair, which still might be the creepiest thing in that whole fucking movie for like the fucking press kits. Like, that movie is just, from the main actress just killing it. The Pennywise comes in. That's, I think, still might be my favorite thing that they did in that film, where they just make you think Pennywise is the fucking problem.
Of course.
Well, not only that, but there's that scene where he's like, something about that he's not a monster. Does he look like a monster or something? And I was like, well, Townsend, we're good. Let's go.
Yeah. It's, and then you have fucking, what do you call him? What's his name?
Justin Long.
Justin Long comes in and is just like, Justin Long does punchable so like.
Yeah.
He truly does.
Like, that's the best. I don't like Tusk at all, but he fucking sells like that arrogant douche in that movie, just like he sells arrogant douche in Barbarian. But like, I get jump scared all the time. Like, if a jump scare is done and well and executed well, I get jump scared. But that movie, like, having like that visceral reaction to the jump scares in the tunnels are just like, because they do the thing, you talk about it here all the time, all the fucking time. You are going to get more out of me with my imagination than you are showing shit.
Yep.
And they let you just they let your imagination go ham in Barbarian. They just let you go, okay, here's this. And they fucking go. It embraces the absurdity of the entire film, which is that's what it has in common with Malignant. It embraces a bonkers premise and just runs with it. And it treats it like the premise that like that it's a real premise, right?
It's because it is.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Ken, talk about Barbarian, because it was also your number one. So go.
I just really, I think that I probably wouldn't have loved it as much had I known about the switch at the end. Like, I think going into it very and that's something that I love doing, video game wise, movie wise, whatever. I like going in not knowing anything about what I'm getting into.
Yep. I've been doing that for years.
Oh, it's so good. So I think that swap was really cool for me. It also like definitely hits on a bit of like horror personal issue that like I've been I know that I keep relating back to stuff, but that's probably why. Anyway, like because we were traveling so much with ADHD in and out of the hospital and staying in random places, that like that fear was always in the back of my head, that there was, you know, and there's been a lot of movies that have come out in the last year, horror based, that are, you know, based around Airbnbs and hotels and all these problems. So I think that it kind of hit there. So that was a big thing for me. Again, I love the concept, and I love the relatability of the beginning, because it does, you know, you're like, oh, well, what do I do in this situation? And to me, everybody was like, oh, she's so dumb. But in my mind, I was like, I mean, I thought she handled things relatively well for being in the position she was in. So I feel like it was really relatable, even as obtuse as it becomes. I thought that it was just well done, because it was so off the wall, and it was funny, but it was scary.
And Justin Long, like,
I have always had kind of a crush on Justin Long. So I mean, like, nothing major, but
I've always loved him too, like all the way back. Like I've seen like every one of his movies, but when he pulls out the fucking tape measure, it totally personifies his whole character in that one thing. Because he's like moving the like dog cages out of the way and stuff. Like, what the fuck, man? You're so dense.
He's in the bloody bedroom with the bucket, and he's just like measuring and
Googling, can I get more money for this? Like, is this square footage dungeon cave? Like,
yeah.
It also does a great job of relating to like some pretty hardcore issues that are definitely have been in the bigger forefront over the years, like with Me Too and everything else going on. I think it does a really good job of showcasing, like, at first you're like, oh, you know, well, and then he says what he says at the bar, and you're like, oh, you are gross, and I do not like you. Like, I think it does a really good job of showcasing that.
Yeah. It also, one of the things I love about the film is that it actually ends up being like scarier during the daytime, like above ground. Like when she shows up to that house and you don't see much, it's like, okay, this is a little, you're like, and then you see what's around it, and you're like,
oh my God. And I gotta say, any movie that has someone getting ripped in half, come on, so good.
Well, it's that thing where they let what's his name? He has that like a really smaller part of the film. The guy in the basement. What's his name? I can't.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
It is Richard Brake.
He's just terrifying.
He's in that film for like 10 minutes, and fucking the scene with him walking through the grocery store, like,
oh God.
And you're just like, oh, okay.
I love the story that he tweeted. He's like, I just had the best encounter ever. I went and finally saw Barbarian by myself in theaters, and I was getting up to leave at the end, and these girls recognized me. Oh my God, it's the guy from the film. And they screamed and ran out of the theater. He's like, best interaction ever.
Because
that's awesome.
That man does creepy better than
he
almost
was such a nice dude,
right
though.
Yeah.
Like, one of the nicer people that I've ever met is him. Yeah. which
Well,
is
I think
why
it's his bone structure. He's got a very like intense, but also like sharp bone structure that immediately makes you like.
Yeah, he's got that face where you're just like, what?
He could be really cool, or he could
Yeah.
destroy my existence.
That's why I fucking him. One like the best Rob Zombie things. One of my favorite is that opening of 31 where it's all black and white and it's just him in that makeup and it's just fucking him being creepy as shit, and it's the best part of that entire film. And you're just like, this motherfucker can just do. And like whenever Zombie uses him, he's just horrifying, and it's just like that like. You just see somebody who it's like Hannibal Lecter, right? Like Hannibal Lecter's only in like 10 minutes of fucking Silence of the Lambs, isn't it? Like it's like it's
and he won an Oscar for it, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like 11
Wasn't
minutes.
more for 10 minutes, but yeah.
It's not very long, and he gets that. You're able to fucking sell your character and sell how incredibly creepy you are, and just in that short amount of time, and you're just like. Fuck. And I will never forget that movie turned like the Kool-Aid Man into a fucking like real life horror scene where that bitch busts the wall. She's like, oh yeah.
Give me your arm.
Yeah.
Rip.
Yeah. And it also does that thing where it fucks with you. Like it does it more than once, but like you kind of think that the homeless dude is like the problem and he's not, and he's just trying to help him out. Like that movie just like, it's like
bait and switch.
It's like you're expecting a straight punch to the jaw and you get uppercut instead, and
so you just get your head smashed into a wall. You know,
that also, yeah. So it embraces the absurdity of horror, and just it's so much fun, and
I love that the writer director was the comedian from The Whitest Kids You Know. Like, he's a comedian. He's like, like what?
It was. We talk about it all the time, and we talked about you talked about Nope. Nope is on your list. It's that sense of timing it transitions from horror to comedy, and that's why Jordan Peele does it so well. It's why Danny McBride has been doing all this horror stuff, and he hasn't been doing it as well as those ones, but he's still been pretty successful, right? Like, say what you say about how the Halloween trilogy of the last 5 years, but it's made fucking Blumhouse a shit ton of money
to stay alive, Rod.
Yeah, it is. It is. That is the trick. You want to stay alive, and you want to not like become Michael Myers and get. I don't know. Yeah, I think. I think Josh. I think I didn't like. I want to talk about you. I think you thought I was going to go down with Terrifier 2. I think Terrifier 2 had that thing with me where I really enjoyed the film, but it was that thing where people were like selling it and selling it and selling it, and oh my god, it's the most extreme thing ever. It
wasn't extreme.
No, I know,
I didn't
but like
find it extreme. I really loved it though. Like it was fucking fun.
I really enjoyed it. The other thing that drove me crazy about it was the night I watched it and the internet issues I was having. And
you're gonna hate that movie forever.
It's gonna, it kind of fucked with my experience. Although I really, also the one thing with that film that probably kept it like that really did get it like with me was it was too long, man. You don't need a slasher, even with like the central part of it.
It wasn't that long. It just took you 5 hours to watch it.
No, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever. 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Every movie coming out nowadays is over 2 hours, man.
No, it's not. Not for horror. Everything we've talked about is less than 2 hours or less.
Oh, here goes. Here he goes. Here he goes.
Yeah. No, it's just you fucking edit your movie.
He's chewing. He's chewing.
You did not need to be 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever the fuck it was. Don't do that.
Listen, I mean, we've had that conversation, though, about movies being over 2 hours. Sometimes it's like a really good thing. Now, there are a lot of movies that just like grind into hell. I was listening to last podcast on the left the other day, and they were talking about a movie that I can't even remember which movie it was, but they were talking about that it was like 2.5 hours long. Nope. It's not last podcast on the left. I was listening to people talk about the Star Wars holiday feature.
Oh yeah.
But so they were talking about, but like, I mean, movie times, as long as it's done well, I think like That's because we talked a lot about that with Dr. Sleep. That Dr. Sleep, I personally loved it, but I had read the book, so I could kind of see through context clues, whereas people who hadn't read the book probably didn't know. But then once you guys watched the director's cut, it made a lot more sense to people. I think having that ability is really important because, yeah, they can extend past that, but please don't overstay your welcome.
Yeah.
Well, Avatar was over 3 hours, and I saw that late and was like, you know what? Like, it was good. It didn't need to be 3 hours, though. You have 4 other ones apparently coming out. Like, come on, man.
I have no interest in seeing Avatar.
I don't either. But it's almost made $1 billion, so it's gonna be. I
thought it needed like 10 billion to break even or something.
Supposedly
wild.
it's like 2 billion to break even, but yeah, it's an
a lot of money.
I don't know, man. I just think that there was a thing where that movie was so disconnected from the Hollywood system that they didn't have someone in there like editing down scenes like 5 seconds here, 10 seconds there, and that added
Terrifier?
up to like Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
And that just it's that little thing where it's like with the movie this year with how good horror was, it's little things like that 15 extra minutes, like the experience I had watching it, which wasn't the movie's fault. It kind of like soured me a little bit. It's just little things like that. And you're just like, the films were so good this year that you're just like, I
just wanted this list to be horrific.
Yeah, it's okay, man.
And and even like having innocence on there, it's like not very horrific, and but even like The Black Phone, it was almost not a horror movie to me. It was like it was a mystery movie, and like a cop mystery movie with little elements of like ghosty horror, but like they would do that in CSI now.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. So we did Old Boy pretty early on in the podcast, and Old Boy is that thriller thing, but it's just got such horrendous elements to it, right? Like. And that's like one of those reasons why I love that film so much, because of those horrendous elements. I don't know, man. There was so many things that like how you file and sort these films this year. Like it means
But
a
my
lot,
favorite
man.
movie of the year still is Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's not a horror movie, but like, that would be my other list outside of horror. Everything Everywhere All at Once is the best movie made in 2022. Hands down. I've already rewatched it 3 times. And I can't wait to watch it again.
It's got Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's got a butt plug that gives you superpowers. So, I mean, all the things that you need, and a black bagel. But, yeah, that movie is probably the best. That movie made me fucking cry, man, because of the...
so good.
And it is so wonderful, and it's so, like... Seeing a short round from Indiana Jones back in Goonies and doing everything, and
he better be nominated. I think that movie's gonna be nominated for so many awards, and I hope it just sweeps and just shows that indie movies are killing it, and everyone should fucking go out and see fucking indie movies.
Dude, I say, and it makes so much sense that watching that movie, like how close Swiss Army Man was, and I've said this on this podcast with me, the ending of that up until that ending of that film, it was one of my favorite movies. Like that movie was like one of my favorite movies of all time. And they just like they went down for their landing, and they like nose bumped.
They
like,
made you feel great.
They made you feel real bad. Have you seen Swiss Army Man, Ken?
Have I seen which?
Swiss Army Man?
No.
With Daniel Radcliffe and
so ridiculous.
Oh, well then.
And what's his name? The guy who just played the Joker, or not the Joker, the Riddler in the new Batman movie, The Batman. Like, dude, that movie is so good, and you feel so good throughout it. And it's another movie that has mental health things in it, and it's the same directors as Everything Everywhere All at Once, and
it's hilarious.
But that ending, that ending is just like
it's
like
good.
It's like you have the best dinner of all your life, and while you're like eating the last bite, someone walks over.
But it has to come back down to reality at some point. I know, and when it does, you don't like it.
Yeah, they shit directly into your mouth while you're chewing that last bite. It's like you're like, oh, this meal was so good. Oh!
But it makes you think about the whole movie now.
Yeah, I know. I need to watch it again. I haven't watched it since the theater but I remember going, oh no, no. The fireplace where they're sitting around the campfire in that movie and like towards the very end, and you're like, oh my god, they taught you so many lessons, and then that, and you're like,
Rod sat on his own thumb right after he saw that movie.
Okay, Josh. Okay, we had a lot of similarities in our list, and it makes me happy. Josh, I want to ask, you wanted to talk about your most disappointing film of 2022, horror film.
Yeah.
Let me just point out real quick with mine, because it wasn't me, but Mad God, or whatever the fuck that movie was called.
Yeah, it's Mad God.
It was Mad God. Mad God. I need to take Adderall before watching it. I understand it was such a well done movie, but oh god, that was my kryptonite. That movie was everything that I can't pay attention to in a film.
There was no dialogue.
Yeah, and artistically it was brilliant, but like, man, I'm like, it's like going to the Louvre and like just seeing the weirdest piece of art ever that you don't understand. You're like, the critics are like, oh my god, this is like the most beautiful piece of art in the world. And they're like, it looks like,
and the director liked he interacted with my poster on that one too.
It looks like someone had diarrhea on a board, and I loved that. I don't know.
Movie. It was an interesting conversation. That was a really interesting conversation we had about that, and I'm glad it went back to back, because the next week or the week before we saw my worst, Crimes of the Future, and I don't appreciate body horror as just a subgenre of horror. It's just fucking annoying to me. I don't know. It's just not horror. It's just boring. I don't know.
It's surrealist too, which is not something that is easy to get through, especially if you go in and you're like, what? Because I talked about it. The Killing of a Sacred Deer is still one of the strangest movies I've ever seen, and that was the first time I was like, what the fuck is with this movie? And they're like, this is surrealist. I'm like, okay. And then you see
surreal. I wanted to turn it off.
I really like Cronenberg. I think he's doing weird shit now just because he can and doesn't.
It's a Cronenberg film. Yeah, it's a Cronenberg. Oh, great! It's a Cronenberg.
I am stoked. His son's got a horror movie coming out next year that I'm very excited for. So, was there anything that you kind of got disappointed by this year, Ken? You don't have to, like, if there's nothing you want to talk about.
Dunking on that movie one more time.
I mean, I had one that I wasn't particularly thrilled with, just because I felt like it missed so many marks, and it had a lot of opportunities to showcase different elements. So I was very disappointed with They Them, because not only did it miss the mark on, I think, what it was really trying to portray as far as the LGBTQ plus community, I think it didn't hit either mark. You would get somewhere and it would just die, or like there were all these like really awkward moments that I think they thought were gonna like break it up to make it like fun and lighthearted, but at the same time it was kind of like you just completely glossed over this really important moment to do this. But it just wasn't. It wasn't scary. It was predictable. It did a poor job of trying to do what I think it really wanted to do. I don't know. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I felt bad when I first thought it. I was like, oh, this isn't. But then I looked online and a lot of people were like, we don't like it either. And I was like, okay, cool. It's not just me.
I haven't seen it, but the way you talk about it, it reminds me of how another movie I avoided was the 2019 Black Christmas. Or 2020, whenever the fuck it came out, it was trying to use social issues to do a horror movie, but didn't nail
miss the mark on
any of it.
everything.
Yeah, and you just like
when you front load a movie and it's like, oh, we'll attach this to that. Okay, let's just do that then. And it's just like, no, like that's not the point.
I think like if they would have chosen to really put in the forefront the horror of what that movie is about, as far as like, you know, in case you don't know, it's, you know, the camps that are like the conversion camps and conversion therapy and whatnot. If they would have really focused on that, like just ran with that element, I think it could have been terrifying. They didn't need to bring in, like they needed to focus on one or the other, and they tried to mesh, but they did not mesh well. It's like they just completely missed. So
it sounded like, from everything I heard about that film, that like if they would have just made Kevin Bacon the villain of the film, like who's the conversion guy, right, the counselor, they would have been way more successful. And instead of, they were trying to like make social commentary while trying to make a slasher film at the same time, which it sounds like the film, like, because it was on like streaming, right, and like it didn't sound particularly like,
wasn't it like Peacock?
I think so. And then they didn't like nail any of the horror elements. I heard it was boring and not scary at all. It's just like, you can make social commentary while talking horror. We've talked about that already tonight with our list, but you can't like just do that and not make it a scary movie, or like not make it like an entertaining movie. You just like have to. It just feels like you're like just trying to make a point, but you're not making a point, right?
I mean, they definitely tried to do like a bait and switch. They definitely tried to do like all these different things. If they would have left, because Kevin Bacon does feel like the villain. He does a great job of like this weird, like sketchy, gross, makes your skin crawl kind of situation. But like they went a completely different route, and like his acting at the end of that movie was terrible. It was so bad. It was painful. Like if you look up cringe, it should probably be there. Like it just was not. It wasn't. It was like the actors were great. There was nothing negative about the actors. It's just something about that writing and overall was just.
It was like, we live in a world, man, and you guys both know it, like where the fucking people, like especially in in America, where you say you have pronouns, people go like, yeah, and it's like that. But you could do it like, you could do it tastefully. Like they have the whole thing where like they them were the license plates for the twins in the Chucky series this year, like because they're like, you know, non-binary and all that stuff, and they did that and they did it. But you go back to who's doing it. You have a gay man writing that script who, you know, who's always kind of included that, you know, that kind of content in his stuff. And it's been in all I mean, not all of them, but like they really heavily focused on it in the last few, right? Like with Seed of Chucky. And it's like, Seed of Chucky is one of those films that like, not a very good movie, but like that movie also represents a lot and it means a lot to a lot of the people in the LGBTQT community. And it's like, because of the representation, right? And like, it's just like, you have to embrace it fully and do that stuff right to, you know, to get that stuff. And when you don't, it sounds like it comes out like they, them did. And it's just like, you have to nail it, and you have to, it's a hard subject to approach.
I've heard it, well, like I said, when I was going through this, I saw it as like definitively across the internet, that's the worst movie to come out this year. So it's not just they missed the mark. They fucked up big, and they're on a lot of lists for fucking up pretty big. So good job, Peacock. Woo! Worst
Way
movie
to go,
of the
Peacock.
year.
10 out of 10.
Man, there was so many good films this year, though. Man, this was way like I started like a couple hours before we were starting the podcast. I'm like, fuck, this is hard.
Yeah,
like
same.
this is hard. And
Deanna's
I bet you
sitting
tomorrow
next to me, and I'm like, she's like, "Oh, don't you have the podcast?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't make a list." Oh fuck.
I spent all week thinking about it, and then I was like, okay, these are what I want on the list. And then HT was working on something for the stream, and I was like, fuck, I didn't actually write it down. I should probably write these down. And then I was like, oh, damn it, I have too many. I gotta cut some out. Yes.
But it was,
what kind of question is that?
this podcast.
Yeah, but I've been thinking about it all year, anyways. But yeah, like as soon as I see it, that's why I had to do the 10 because like it was too hard not to see because as soon as like I wanted Nope on top 5, then it was like no, I can't be there, and then it was like I wanted Black Phone on top 5, and I was like, but it can't not be talked about, and it can't just be in mentions. So I had to like compile the actual top 10 in order for for me to feel okay about my choices.
But it's funny because I feel like this might have been the most focused episode of Murder Moose ever because the list makes it ADHD at the same time.
Totally. It totally was. This one felt very like, but we had like, this is like, if we had more of a structure to the show, we would do it.
Yeah, but that's the problem is that would require us not being us, and that's going to be a problem. So.
I'm structured and no, I'm not.
No. Ken, it's why we love you because you're you.
Yeah,
This is it. Yeah, man.
This is 2022, guys. I fucking love you guys. Seriously, 2022. Seriously, this has been like for this like. Here's the mushy part. Like I've always appreciated, and Game Dad's like been reaching back out and stuff. So like just the Twitch community and meeting the cool people that I have through it and stuff. I'm so happy that I have this as part of my life. It's the one constant that I can like know. It's like it's almost therapeutic, right? Because I get to do the movie thing that I love. And I get to hang out with fucking people that I love and talk about movies. It's fucking great. Love it.
It's always one of my favorite parts of the week, and it really is. And it's like, I love hanging out with you guys and bullshitting about horror, which I love so much. And it's just like, I'm so glad Ken came on and just fucking instantly bonded and like it became such a like, it was like at the point where like, yeah, Ken's part of the show. Here she is because she's fucking awesome. And so it's like, and it's why like Ken was like I was like as soon as I started hanging out in her community like the end of last year, the beginning of this year, I'm like, I love this woman and she's like fucking dope and like has that sense of humor that goes along with everything. And then you came and did the podcast and it was fucking awesome.
Yep.
And it's been awesome ever since, man. So it's been fucking awesome. And I'm glad everything is it's been such an awesome year. We've done a lot of episodes. I mean, another year where we didn't miss any episodes. I mean, to this point, Josh, the only episode we ever missed the whole time we've done the show was when I got COVID. And so that's like the only episode we ever missed. But
fucking COVID.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Think about that. That is wild.
1 week. And then I think at one point we did a bonus episode where we ranked. Josh and I did our like favorite our Halloween movies.
So we made
like
it
as a side. Yeah, so we've actually have the right number of episodes too. So it's like there's so.
Yo, that's awesome. You guys did such a great job with that. 117 episodes, guys.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
That's
man. We're getting
so many.
We'll do 150 next year, man. That's how many we got. Like 32 more episodes and we'll be there. So, is there anything you guys are interested in reaching out and doing? Because like I know next month in January we have some new stuff coming out. Megan comes out at some point.
Oh right, yeah.
I think the first week of January, or there's a lot. I don't know, but so is there anything you two have thought about doing for the show next week?
Nope.
For next week?
Yeah.
Nope.
I was thinking we do Deadstream because I fucking loved it so much, and you guys,
sounds good to me.
I think are going to enjoy the shit out of it. It's wacky, and as Ken and Josh, you both been streamers. Josh doesn't stream right now, but like, I think you'll enjoy it. So let's do Deadstream because I love that fucking movie, and I think you guys will enjoy the shit out of it. And then we can start diving into whatever is coming around. But yeah, cool. Okay, you motherfuckers. Thank you for being so dope. Thank you for making this thing that I started because I wanted to. I couldn't not podcast, and you guys have made it so much fun. And I honestly, two of my favorite people in the world, and I love the shit out of you guys. So, thank you for doing this for another fucking year, man. Our next episode
Thank you
that comes
for
out.
having me.
Thank you for being here and making part of your fucking busy ass schedule, kid. So, yeah. So let's do that. Let's start off 2023 with Deadstream. Yes. And yeah, we'll see everyone in 2023 after this episode. So,
Yo,
love
happy
you guys.
New Year, motherfuckers.
Thank you for listening for all these episodes, and we love you guys, and we'll talk to you.
Everybody tell Josh to feel better.
Yeah. Feel better and stick a thumb up his ass. We love you guys. Talk to you soon. And
Bye.
bye.